Halo Combat Evolved is a first-person shooter published by Microsoft Game Studios to be released as a launch title of the original Xbox. From there, it became a critical and commercial success, which praised still till this day as one of the greatest games of all time. Halo Combat Evolved created a multi-billion-dollar multimedia franchise that has not only just incorporated games, but also includes books, movies, and toys, while single-handedly giving the Xbox a foothold in the console gaming market. The success and popularity coined many new terms such as Halo Killer, which is applied to games that were nearly or as legendary as Halo. During the first 2 months of Halo Combat Evolved's release, it sold over 50% of Xbox consoles and sold over 1 million units by April 2002. It fueled its sequel Halo 2, which proved to be one of console gaming's successful launches. Since the series' inception, it has managed to sell over 60 million copies worldwide, with the game single-handedly grossing over $3.4 billion. The game has impacted pop culture as a 7-feet juggernaut in green armor swept across America and the rest of the world. Games TM even stated that Halo had changed video game combat forever, while Variety even called Halo the video game equivalent to Star Wars. Halo Combat Evolved finds itself as the greatest Xbox exclusive on Metacritic, with a rating of 97, making it 21st among all the games on Metacritic. As the years have gone by and new games fly, does Halo Combat Evolved hold up through all this time? During 1997, a studio of roughly 15 located at Chicago was working on a sequel to a game called Myth. During this time, a group of 3 from the original studio, Bungie, started experimenting with a sci-fi real-time strategy game. The early version of the game used a Myth engine. The small, minor, irrelevant project was given the name Monkey Nuts, then soon Blam. While experimenting with the ways how to control the units, the developers would realize that it would be a lot more fun to drive the vehicles rather than have a computer control them. And by mid-1998, this small game had become a third-person shooter. Bungie's then vice president soon managed to use his contacts in Apple to get Joseph Staten and Jason Jones an audience with the CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, who was extremely impressed with the game and agreed to reveal the game to the world at the 1999 Macworld Convention and Expo. Days before the reveal, the game still did not have a permanent title, until Bungie artist Paul Russell suggested Halo. The announcement of the game was revealed that it would be released to Mac and Windows simultaneously, as Bungie promised that the game would be open world with terrain that even reacted to explosives, with divots due to deformation, spent shell casings lying around, and variable weather. It would also feature specific fauna created for Halo. Throughout the development of Halo, Bungie had been in an insecure financial situation, and with the release of Myth 2, a glitch was found that would wipe the contents of the directory that it would be installed into. This would be found after 200,000 copies were produced for the 1998 loss, and as a result, Bungie was forced to recall all the copies and fix them, resulting in a loss of $800,000. With this, Bungie sold a share and the publishing rights of their company to Take-Two Interactive, who recently required a DMA design who would be later renamed Rockstar North. Still with financial difficulties, Bungie's executive vice president, Peter Tamt, contacted Ed Fries, who was the head of Microsoft Game Studios at the time, about a possible acquisition. During this time, Fries had been working on Microsoft's first home gaming console, the Xbox. He soon negotiated a deal with Take-Two so that they acquired Bungie and the rights to Halo, while Take-Two retained the Myth and Oni properties. And on June 19, 2000, Microsoft announced its acquisition of Bungie, and Halo would be the main Xbox exclusive launch title for the Xbox. With less than a year remaining in development, Jason Jones decided to change the game's perspective from third person to first person, while the other members focused on making the console play well on the gamepad, as it was relatively untested and the console first person shooters were rare, and were very hard to control. All other Bungie projects were thrown out as every member was forced to quickly develop Halo. A former Bungie employee, Jamie Grishma, said that after the Bungie team moved to the Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington, he was not able to unpack his items for 6 months straight due to how busy the development was. Due to the rush, Bungie was forced to cut many of the proposed and mentioned features. This made them story duct tape levels together to smooth out. To save time, they decided to reuse levels, as the new levels would not be feasible within the remaining time. While the campaign cutscenes came in extremely late, that Martin O'Donnell was forced to create much of the score in just 3 days. Only with 4 months remaining, they decided that the multiplayer was simply not fun, so it was scrapped entirely and rebuilt from scratch, using the members who had recently completed developing Oni. According to an Actman video, on one of the final days of Halo Combat Evolved's development, the multiplayer lead, Hardy LaBelle, created all the multiplayer sounds within 1 day. During the final few months of development, the members of Bungie were sleeping in the office just to make the deadline. This team went through all the pain and suffering with endless amounts of months to create a game that we now have, Halo Combat Evolve. But how does it stand up to time? How does Halo Combat Evolved's gameplay hold up till this day? If you're searching for a quick and simple answer, it holds up resoundingly well. Halo Combat Evolved's gameplay is easily one of the most fair, balanced games in history, while providing a great challenge for gamers on legendary difficulty. Unlike most games, it does not bullshit you with unfair deaths and moments, as it instead punishes the players for the decisions rather than just total BS. Later games in the franchise would all have unfair deaths when playing the game, even in the way the developers had in mind. While Halo Combat Evolved is possible to beat the way the developers intended without dying, this is much thanks to the design behind the enemies, health, and maps. Halo Combat Evolved enemies are like chess pieces, as each serve a different purpose. Gruncher pawns, extremely weak and provide no difficulty when on their own. But with numbers, they overwhelm you and kill you quickly. They're equipped with many weapons such as grenades, plasma pistols, and needlers, although the high-ranked grunts may even wield fuel-rod cannons. Elites are the equals to you. They are fast, agile, extremely strong with shield systems that recharge. They shred through your shields with their plasma weapons and may have an energy sword that is lethal in close range. Some elites even go invisible, which may catch you by surprise as they take you out. Spec Ops elites are a class of elites that throw grenades with precision. They provide a dangerous threat as they force you to play extremely smart or you will die. Jackals are enemies with large shields. They are able to overcharge the plasma pistols, and they are more of a support class as they constantly suppress you and weaken you, right for the elite to finish you off. To deal with them, you either have to place a plasma pistol shot well or place a grenade right next to them. Hunters are tanky enemies who take a lot of bullets to take down, unless you have a headshot weapon, which makes them relatively useless. Although without a headshot weapon and a quick method to take them down, their fuel-rod gun is extremely dangerous. You want to remain moving as it will kill you quickly, and when close up, their melee is almost useless if you sidestep away from the attack. The Flood is pretty useless when on their own, but they will never be alone as they attack in numbers. They will try to swarm you with forces to keep you moving and avoiding attacks. The combat forms are most lethal when firing, while infection forms and carrier forms are both dangerous as they surround you with their numbers. And finally, Sentinels. They're just a bunch of plain old flying robots that shoot out a beam that does quite a bit of damage on Legendary. They don't provide much of a threat when you're armed with a plasma weapon. Their main purpose is to either give you support on some levels or provide a third faction in combat encounters. Each enemy provides a different threat, forcing you to play differently and more intelligently as each encounter is unique and feels different. This is easily most noticeable in the level 2 betrayals, as the map is entirely recycled with just a change of time of day and small detail changes, and most uniquely, and most importantly, unique enemy encounters. These unique encounters forces you to play different strategies, and there are many methods of dealing with each encounter. Halo allows you to experiment with several strategies, which is different for most first-person shooters, which are generally just bullet fest where you just shoot many bullets until the enemy is dead. Instead, you are allowed to use many different weapons depending on the level, and thanks to freedom given by Bungie, you can always play an encounter differently, such as quietly sniping all enemies and then moving up, or going guns blazing and shredding your enemies to bits. This is much assisted by the enemy AI, who are all dangerous. They're aggressive and will attack you in many different potent ways. They're programmed to kill, making them a genuine threat. On top of this, when changing the difficulty, encounters change entirely as different enemies or high-ranked enemies are encountered in some scenarios, and the enemy number is changed to be more difficult or easy depending on the difficulty. A perfect example is the staircase in the Pillar of Autumn. On the left, there is a blast door that opens up. On every difficulty except Legendary, only grunts spawn there, while on Legendary, you will see an elite accompanied by a grunt. Small tweaks may not seem much, but they change the encounter from what it was. Halo revolutionized FPS gaming through having a 2-weapon limit and a regenerating shield. At the time, the concepts were rare and unknown, but Halo made them the stock standard in gaming for many years to come. Games such as Call of Duty began following the trends that Halo had created just to win a part of the market. On top of this, Halo made first-person shooters feel right at home on a console. The fluidity provided by the second analog stick changed console gaming as a whole, as the Xbox controller proved to the gaming world that first-person shooters were viable on a console, rather than that one analog stick provided by the N64 or the uncomfortable controller provided by Sony's PlayStations. Halo's health system was designed to a T, as it allowed players to experiment with the many different types of gameplay styles, and when the player had full health, they were allowed to play slightly reckless, but as the health chipped down, you were required to play far more cautiously, making even one elite seem one of the most extreme threats in the game. Halo doesn't severely punish your actions, like Halo 2, where dumb mistakes are instant deaths. Instead, it allows you to have a buffer to bounce back from the mistake and play more intelligently. On top of this, health packs and power-ups are scattered around the map, which forces you to seek these items. Halo CE allows you to learn from your mistakes. It is balanced and fair in each encounter. You aren't forced to play perfect on Legendary, much like its successors. As Reggie once stated, if it's not fun, why play it? And Halo CE defines fun while being challenging and fair, making it hold up well till this day. As the first game in the series, Halo Combat Evolved planted many of the seeds required for the sequels, books, and movies. Bungie didn't know whether they could create another Halo game, so it was designed to be self-contained, while also giving the potential for the game to be expanded on. And the rest is history. Halo introduced the Covenant, Flood, Human, Forerunners, and the Halos themselves, which would be all further explored through the expanded universe and sequels. This focus on the world and the setting itself rather than just characters builds its potential. It's much comparative to the first season of Attack on Titan, where it sows the seeds by world building which inevitably blossom into the seasons we have now. Halo Combat Evolved tells its story much differently from its competition. Rather than just revealing the story and the plot through exploratory cutscenes, the player witnesses pieces of the puzzle or the entire puzzle during gameplay. Cortana doesn't always tell the player the story, as many of the small glimmers and moments are told through gameplay and encounters. The mission 343 Guilty Spark is the epitome of this, as it tells many stories that build the larger picture. There is no exposition from your trusty AI Cortana. Instead, you're just left to witness older incidents. Initially, you see the Covenant fleeing from a threat, which isn't revealed, only for you to arrive at a downed Pelican, where the distress call mentions something which isn't revealed yet either. As you begin to cross a fallen tree log, you see several creatures that appear as friendly marines on your motion trackers, and as you enter the structure, the Covenant appears to be running from an enemy, except by the time you get inside, they're all gone. As you enter several rooms, you see the Covenant boarded up, as if they're defending against something overwhelming and something dangerous, something that scares them more than you. In several of these spots, there is plenty of blood exposed everywhere. You soon encounter a Marine who spouts about some crazy green monsters as he shoots you, and in some rooms later on, green goo drops from the ceiling. Finally, you arrive in a room where the Marines are presumably inside, but there is human blood spattered all over the walls, with an abundance of health pack preparing the player for the danger. As you enter the room, then it finally reveals the evils that's lurking all this time. That's when shit hits the fan. The lack of Marines, elite corpses, is all due to the flood just consuming them both. If you remember, the dead bodies in those past rooms, they're gone, all consumed by the flood. Halo's characters are serviceable to the story. Cortana and 343 Guilty Spark provides you with exposition, while the other Marines and Captain Keyes brings life to the human side of Halo. All characters in Halo have personality. They don't require character arcs to build onto them, as they're not the main focus of the game. Halo doesn't provide a deep story. It's simple, and simple is not bad. Instead, it's good for starting a series such as Halo. This simplicity is common in the first-person shooter gaming landscape during the time, although even then Halo attempted something out of the norm. It's because Halo's revolutionary and ambitious story that was implemented so well, is why many, including me, love it till this day. Halo Combat Evolved is easily one of the most fun games to play thanks to its campaign. This is much due to the level design that complements its gameplay. The game slowly reveals more content as you play through its levels. The Pillar of Autumn is a tight shooting gallery that forces you to heavily rely on cover. It teaches the player the simple basics of the games, such as enemy types, effective weapons, and grenade use. In the next mission, it opens up for the player, allowing them to explore as you revealed jackals and a dropship. Due to its sheer size and expansiveness, you require a vehicle to complete the level, or it will just take far too long. You are also given a sniper to effectively take out opponents from distance, which should assist you in making encounters much easier by killing the biggest threats. The third mission, Truth and Reconciliation, forces the player to use a sniper as the main headshot weapon. Here you learn the small niches of sniping as you are introduced to night vision, hunters, invisible elites, and golden sword elites. Halo's first 6 missions are all fully unique. For each of these levels, the game either takes away or adds a new feature to change the gameplay. This makes the game far from stale and makes the player think of the many new different ways to take their enemies out as they complete their missions. Halo Combat Evolved's levels are mostly linear, with the exception of Halo and the Silent Cartographer. Even with some levels having linearity, Bungie designed the levels to feel far from linear. You will notice that there is generally more than one method to beating an encounter, rather than just following a straight simple method. In the Pillar of Autumn, you access shafts, which you can access different parts of the room to flank and kill your enemies. For Assault on the Control Room, you can destroy wraiths in many different ways. If you want to fire rocket launchers, you can. If you want to strafe them with the Warthog, you can. It also allows you to beat the open segment with a Warthog, as you aren't fully required to use a tank. You actually don't even need a tank if you don't want it. Or you can complete the entire level on foot. Have your picks. This freedom and non-linearity on linear missions is what makes it so fun for the first few missions. It is until the infamous and the most annoying, irritating, while one of the most important missions, the library, that you notice flaws in CE's level design and gameplay design. It is repetitive and annoying to play, as you're constantly playing in copy-paste rooms. On top of this, you fight the Flood with almost no assistance, except a few Sentinel drones who helps you here and there. You're just constantly pounded with the overwhelming Flood, as you barely escape death through their resounding numbers. Here you understand the true Flood's tactics, which is to overwhelm you. This forces you to quickly change the tactics to a fast gunning and quick moving game style, rather than just a hide behind cover plasma EMP headshot strategy that you're taught in the earlier stages of the game. After the library, all the remaining levels take place in locations you have been before with slight changes. The player may consider the final 3 levels to be just utterly lazy, but instead, they're actually probably some of the better and the most enjoyable levels in Halo. 2 Betrayals is easily the greatest mission in Halo Combat Evolved. It's just Assault in the Control Room backwards, but instead, it changes all of its enemy encounters, and just by doing that, the level feels entirely new. Well, almost entirely new, as you see many things you wouldn't normally see. The Flood and Sentinels provide several new factions into combat, as 3 to 4 factions wage war against each other, and you're stuck right in the middle of it. In several rooms, you see the Flood fight the Covenant, and they provide a few combat decisions. Should you go guns blazing and kill all on sight, or should you avoid combat and let one faction remain, or should you try to balance out the fight by weakening one side, which allows for more of an equal fight? So you can just simply mop up the rest of the remaining resistance. The map layouts may be the exact same, but the simple changes in encounters and details make the levels feel brand new. And the new feelings is what makes the game maintain its strength from start to finish. The Halo theme is at least known by every single gamer and their moms. The Gregorian chant for the theme is about iconic as guns are in Call of Duty. And no, it's not just its theme. With much of the game filled with music that firstly fits perfectly, and secondly, that the songs that are played are extremely enjoyable and good. You'll notice in some places that there is high-pitched orchestra music that is being played as you cross a bridge, or in some other places, there is ancient-sounding music as you lurk through grey old hallways. At the entrance of a large door, you notice that a song starts playing, and it sounds much like a dance, an alien dance. Halo has the song for every moment, but it just doesn't bombard your eardrums with music. Instead, it paces the music. So no, none of the songs actually become stale. During the times when the music doesn't play, ambience takes over, so you listen to the sounds of your surroundings, which brings the game and the location to life. This decision, in turn, adds more impact to the moment's music that is being played, as all the songs themselves are memorable, but added to the gameplay moments that they're included in, it makes a complete package. A highlight that you will always remember. This is a skill that only Halo has mastered, and it's all thanks to our Lord and Saviors, Marty and Salvatore. Halo Combat Evolved truly lives up to its name. In the 2000s retrospective, it was a game that changed gaming as a whole medium. It evolved combat and revolutionized console gaming as a platform to compete against PCs in the first-person shooter market. It delivered an extremely incredible soundtrack and provided one of the best video games campaigns, while it brought gamers together through 4-player split-screen multiplayer, connecting players together during a time when Xbox Live didn't exist. The game is quite simply a masterpiece, even in 2000, and yes, the multiplayer may feel outdated, and yes, the campaign may seem a bit shallow, but the effects it did on the gaming industry is unrivaled. Halo Combat Evolved deserves all the praise and compliments because it was a near-perfect game in all ways, and it's a testament that a 19-year-old game still holds up so well. It doesn't follow trends, and instead it sets them, as it changed gaming as a whole for the better. Halo Combat Evolved is truly something special.